everyone. Let's get started. So I'm sure that a couple of people will hop on after we begin, but just a reminder that we're recording this meeting and I will post it on the blog before the end of the week. And I just want to say thank you to everyone for taking time out of their very busy schedules to join us for this meeting. So as always, I have a few things on my agenda and then I'm going to turn it over to you guys for questions. So if your program has a change in email addresses, either, just a few or one or the entire program, please let us know. We need to make changes in the MIS and also to the listservs. That's how we are able to communicate with you guys. Okay. If you work in a statewide program, you know that cases can be transferred from one program to another. We recommend that the cases are not accepted until the family has a few home visits to ensure that the family truly wants to participate in the program. Accepting too soon may adversely affect your retention rate. So we just, that's just kind of like an FYI for you guys. Sometimes when you guys are working as you do in the MIS, you open multiple sessions, and the multiple sessions can result in a timeout and a loss of work. The MIS does have a timeout feature for security purposes, and if the submit button or partial save option, depending on the form, is not clicked within 20 minutes, the MIS will time out and that work will be lost. This 20-minute allotment, time allotment, begins in the first MIS session. So the first session can time out, and if you are documenting in another session, then your work will not be saved. So we recommend closing any subsequent sessions as soon as you are through reviewing the case or the form. All documentation and data entry should be completed within the initial MIS session. Just a reminder, the MIS does not and is not able to delete forms or narratives on its own. And in most cases, the programmers can identify and bring back deleted forms, and even in some cases narratives, if the information has been previously saved. They can be done only, obviously, like I said, with saved or submitted data. If the work was not saved, then there is nothing to recover. If you feel that something was deleted accidentally, please submit a ticket and we will do our best to help you guys. Let's see, Corrine just sent me a message.
It was just for you. So I don't know where you keep that, Corey, but we can discuss afterwards. I just didn't want to forget.
Oh, okay. Okay. I'm so sorry. I'm so sorry. So Nancy Livingston wants to know if we can extend the timeout from 20 to 30 minutes. I guess we can bring it up with our team. The 20 minutes is standard for most websites, Nancy. And we really just want to make sure that all the information is secure. So if you are stepping away from your computer for any reason, and it takes more time, we just want to make sure that the data within the system is secure, I guess. But I guess, thank you for bringing that suggestion and we'll bring it up to the team. Let's see here. All right, so it has come to our attention that the MIS was including partially saved supervisions toward the count of completed supervisions for all staff in the 12-1B. And so some programs have a lot of partially saved supervisions. The partial supervisions will no longer be counted towards the 12-1B. The MIS will be modified so that only completed supervisions, that means the form complete button has been checked, will count. The 12-3B will also be modified to exclude partial supervision forms. Probably this is not as big of an issue, but the numbers may still change. So please, and another just reminder, please make sure that you are running your reports monthly to monitor adherence to the policy and the best practice standards. Does anybody have questions on that? Okay, so that's all. Oh, I'm sorry, Fatima, what do you need?
No, I was a little slow when I was clicking. So are you saying monthly we should be running the partial supervision? I just want to make sure I'm understanding what you were saying. The partial supervision report to ensure that whatever's in there is done, or I want to make sure I understood what you meant about running the report monthly.
No,
So,
Fatima,
no, go ahead.
I was going to say no, that you should be running the 12-1B and the 12-3 so that you are aware of everybody, how many supervisions they've had, how are you doing for the towards the PI time frame.
Okay. Okay. Thank you for clearing that up.
And also, for supervisors, there is a form review item on the settings page for partial supervisions. So,
Yes.
We can't hear you. I can't hear you.
He froze.
He did.
Yeah, so basically click on settings, go to the partial supervisions and make sure that the number is low, that you keep it as low as possible.
Thank you.
So that's all that's on my agenda. So I'm going to throw it over to you guys and, bring on all your questions and feedback.
I have a question, please. Hi,
Hi.
could you please give some feedback on discharged families showing up on home visit rate reports? I'm curious if they stick around on the home visit rate report for a while, even though they're discharged, or if they are discharged, then from that date on, they will not reflect in the percentages. Any thoughts about that? I would appreciate. Or I can rephrase the question with a little more details.
So, and Jay, correct me if I'm wrong, the discharged cases will show on the home visit rate report if they were still active during the report timeframe.
yes.
Okay. All right. That makes sense then. Okay.
Yep. The cohort is basically anyone who was served in the period. And so, if someone was discharged May 15th, then you're running it for April 1st to June 30th, they'll be included for the first 45 days of that period.
Okay. All right. Thank you. So if I ran the report from the day after they were discharged, then I shouldn't see them there anymore. And it wouldn't
Correct.
reflect in the numbers then?
Correct.
Because they're discharged. Okay. All right. Great. Thank you.
But just a reminder that the home visit rate report was programmed and is meant to be run for 3 months at a time. So if you're running it by month, then, the numbers they're not going to look accurate. They're not going to look good. So we recommend that the report be run for a 3-month time period.
Okay, that's helpful, Corianne, because I couldn't make sense of it, because if I ran it for a month, the numbers look different. If I ran it for the quarter, the numbers look different. And if I ran it for, whatever time frame I ran it for, I was getting all these different percentages and different numbers, and I just couldn't
Yeah.
understand why that might be happening.
Yep. I mean, truly, I mean, I know that, like our quarters go from the first of the month to the end of the month, whatever, for 3 months. But truly, the best reflection is to run it from a Monday through Friday thing. So, like if the beginning of the month starts on a Wednesday, maybe pull it back to that previous Monday, and then if the month ends on a Wednesday, maybe go to the Friday, so you get a full. It's like a full week, but again, our performance indicators and the annual service reports and things like that, they're not going to ask for that. They're going to say January through the end of March. Karina from Broome has a question. Will the vaccine requirements be updated to meet the new CDC guidelines, specifically the RSV when mom got the vaccine during pregnancy?
To be honest, is that a CDC requirement now? Like, because that's what we put in. I think you can add it, but I'm not too sure that we can look into it. I have no idea. Do you know about that, Jay?
No, I don't. I mean, no, I haven't researched it, so I don't know.
Yeah.
But I know there's no changes to the requirements on the horizon right now, but we're always adapting to changes that other parties are implementing. So if they have a new guideline, then we're probably going to discuss it
Yeah.
and implement it.
Hi, this is Kylie Pfeiffer. I do have a question in regards to the vaccine. We are getting feedback from our families and some that are extremely on top of it, and we know they make them, that the doctors are saying that our requirements are outside of what CDC is wanting. So they won't pass or give that additional vaccine. And it's for different ones because I've been trying to track it during supervisions and follow-ups with them as I'm looking at the data. But I do know that that's an area that we've been hyper focused on updating those immunization records, and we're getting pushback from the pediatricians that are supporting our families at this point, that a lot of the ones that we're requiring are considered extra or they're out of stock.
So do you know what guidance they follow? It's not.
I mean,
the
I
CDC?
don't know. I have them explored a little bit more of other options because obviously it's my home visitors aren't attending the actual medical appointment, but it's families that are extremely on top of things. So it's not like they're stonewalling the feedback. They are giving the paperwork as soon as they go. They are consistently going, but the doctors are not passing some of those ones within those windows, and then they're out of the windows.
Kylie,
But they're updating them as they get them, or they might not actually pass that round and it's considered optional. So then when you run the report by their first birthday, they're missing some immunizations that the pediatrician will not.
I don't know about the doctors that your clients are seeing, but I know that the CDC requirements that are on our that the recommendations, actually they're not even requirements, they're just the CDC recommended vaccines that are on our form are taken directly from the CDC website. So
Okay.
but honestly, if you have any additional feedback or documentation from the CDC, we would definitely consider it, right, Corinne?
Okay. Yeah, no, we're looking into it. I just wanted to help kind of guide them as well because, they're out there trying to do their best to get all this into the MIS, and there's a little staff frustration in that component on their reflection.
And another thing to take into consideration is that, for example, the performance targets won't look for 6 months vaccines until the kid is 12 months. So there is a 6-month cushion there to adapt for all those pediatricians that say, oh, maybe you want to stretch out these a little bit more and not give them the vaccines, like 3 in a
Right.
visit. So there is the report at, or the performance targets requirements adapt to that and give you that longer window to get those vaccines. I see
Right.
Tatiana.
Thank you so much.
Oh, you're welcome. Tatiana, you have your hand up.
And Rebecca did too. Rebecca, do you have a question?
Sorry, I thought I was unmuted. I hope I can relay the message, but at this morning at our staff meeting, some of the staff were just saying the challenges they have with MIS and entering documentation about immunization. And one of the things they mentioned is that sometimes families will go to an appointment gets canceled, then they go to an appointment for sequence of vaccine. So they had the first dose, then they have the second dose. But because that second dose is a little bit later, then MIS will take it as, won't accept it as a second dose. It will take it as a last dose, something that they're really having. I, encourage some of them to be here today just to share this because it's a frustration with the team. But I think it's basically what's going on. I don't know if that was brought up before or if you know what I'm talking about at all.
My understanding with the immunization form is that okay, so say it's an immunization that's 4 doses are required, and you get the first dose like within the time frame, but then you skip the second dose and they get the third dose. That third dose will actually go into the second dose like range, right, Jay? Like it's just so it doesn't jump ahead, it actually jumps backwards, Tatiana. So I'm not, is any of
Yeah.
your team here?
No, I was looking to see, and I'm gonna kind of get that in writing as well. I think it's much better to get it in writing, so and send it to you guys because, oh, there you go, Grace is here.
I'm here. I'm one of the supervisors and I was also at the staff meeting. I think I'm gonna try my best to also reiterate it, and that was kind of the issue, is that they were getting the vaccine series. Say they got the 2 months. We did have a case where like the TC had developed cancer, so all the immunizations were going to be delayed. So they were like prolonging it and they weren't going to get a certain series. And I guess this is also case by case basis. It's different for everyone. And that might just be an explanation for that. But it did pop up on one of our reports that we were kind of behind on certain immunizations. And I think that was like what they were describing, is that MIS just doesn't let you put in, like, if it was a 2 month, a 4 month, and a 6 month shot series, you don't just say they missed the 4 month one and I don't know if doctors then don't always make that up, or if it's more prolonged and it's going to be later on 1 year or whatever. I'm not too familiar with that, but I think that was like the frustration, was that the shot series got messed up for whatever reason. We have an issue with families falling through the doctor's appointments and getting to them. So I guess that was one of them. But also it's like, if a family tells you, say you do a home visit today and they're like, oh, we have a well baby visit this Thursday. It's just more of like they have to remember to then later put in the immunization, because we can't you can't put in an earlier date into MIS. So like you can't like do the narrative and put like, okay, TC has an appointment this Thursday. You can't then go to the TC med form and enter that date. You have to wait until that date already passed. So it's like, okay, I need to remind myself, follow up. If it's a family who meeting once a month or every 2 weeks, sometimes you forget because you're meeting other families. So I think that was another kind of area of concern. We were just kind of talking about how to improve immunizations and where the barriers are with that.
Well, that's what the case notes are for, and that's what the narrative is for them to enter those future dates, because we don't want to enter something like, say, okay, so I have an appointment on Friday, but something happened where I missed that appointment. So you enter that data in, and then it didn't really happen. So
Right.
yeah, so we want to make sure that the visits happen, so it just speaks to the integrity of the data and the accuracy of what's in the case. because
Yeah.
stuff happens.
And I know, like, and like a lot of it is we're parents has access to that, and we have noticed that like what a parent reports and what is on their actual immunization record is not accurate. So we've run into that a few times, and I guess it's more of like just something we need to figure out, but it's a lot of data and like just notes to remember if you have like a high caseload is just kind of like what we had talked about this morning. But I understand your point of case notes and having the data be the most accurate, but we're kind of finding that it's not accurate for whatever reason, the parent missing appointments and then not following through. And I don't know if that's been an issue with other programs.
There's a couple things I just wanted to say about this. First of all, matching up the shots, the immunizations to the schedule is not an exact science. And as you said, sometimes it'll go into a 4-month slot when the date clearly shows that it's a 6-month, but it's not exact. So sometimes there's holes in the schedule. The other thing is that, just like all of our performance targets and the requirements that we expect you to meet, it's never 100%. It's always 90% because of not necessarily 90%. For this one, I think it's
80.
Yeah, it's 80% because a lot of things happen. A lot of things can go wrong. And another thing was that we did consider allowing future dates into the TC medical form, but the prevalence of missed and rescheduled appointments, it makes it even harder to go back and figure it out when you entered it in advance, and then for whatever reason the mom didn't keep the appointment, or the doctor rescheduled or something like that. And I think the original question that started this was about the RSV, and I know the RSV has become more and more relevant recently in the last few years, but there's no requirements for the children to have the RSV vaccine. And the initial question was about the mom having the vaccine, and we don't keep track of mom's vaccinations, only the target child.
Joe, I see your well baby visits, and we can look into that. You're right. I don't know how we're documenting the fact that they, in the NICU, they won't have the 3 to 4 weeks, and so we can definitely look into that. But I need to jump off right now. So great seeing you, everybody.
Bye, Corinne. Feel better.
Yeah, and that's a perfect example of why we don't require 100%, because there are always exceptions, and the child being in the NICU is certainly an exception for not having their well baby visits.
But these are all really good points, though. So thank you for bringing them up and just sharing, the concerns of the team.
I have a
Melissa?
question, please. Thank you. We just brought a new staff member on board, and she's working on her trainings. And I'm just making sure that she's up to speed and has all of her trainings logged. And in the report section for trainings, we have the BPS, the required topics in the resume, and the rest of the reports are retired. I feel like I asked this question a long time ago, but could you please remind me, all of those retired reports, are they not going to give me accurate information? And I'm just curious if they're still on there. There's at least 20. There's quite a bit. And
They
then
will
there's
not-
3 that.
Yeah,
Mhm.
they will not give you accurate information. Melissa, you should really use the the BPS report, the resume, and the required topics reports. We leave them on because, for example, just one of the programs is going through accreditation right now, and they had to pull training reports for people who had been hired like years ago, and the trainings are old and things like that. So they can see all those trainings, and they can, it's an easy access thing. But for current trainings and for new staff members, please, everybody use the BPS training reports, the resume, and the required topics. And correct me, Jay, if I'm wrong here, but the BPS reports will not necessarily show new staff members training. So you should take a look at the resume and the required topics to see what's missing and what's on track. Right, Jay?
Yep.
Okay, that's helpful. So stay away from retired reports. Got it. Thank you.
For new
everything.
Yes.
Everything in the retired reports has been integrated into the BPS, and we really tried to simplify it by creating the BPS report, because obviously you would have to run 20 different reports to see if one worker was meeting their requirements. And so we've rolled them all into the one report. And so in general, the retired reports are not going to help you, and especially for a newer program like yours, Melissa, because the requirements are also outdated. So it's generally going to be inaccurate information in those older reports.
Okay, that's helpful. And what I'm mainly looking for when I'm pulling them reports for training is what's missing. So of those 3, I don't necessarily need to know what she's already taken, because I've entered that and I know that information, but I want to make sure that she's not behind on anything. Would the BPS be the best report for that information?
No, the required topics report would be the best. If you want to see what they're missing or what's upcoming, the required topics is the one that I use. So.
Okay, great.
Yeah.
That's what I'll do.
Yeah. Yeah. Particularly for new employees, because they're not going to show up on the BPS report until if they're a home visitor, they're not going to show up until they start actually working with families and actually have their first home visit, and then they're going to start to be reported on. So yeah, you have to rely on the required topics and the resume to get when they're in the introductory period, so to speak.
And thank you so much for that question, Melissa, because we actually get tickets about that. People are confused. They want to use that BPS report. And for new staff, as Jay said, that they're not going to show up. So, so Fatima, do you have a question? You're on mute, hon.
Good morning. First, I just want to say thank you for that question that Melissa asked, because I was just asked myself about the training and I was trying to figure out where to go. But my question, and hopefully I'll ask this correctly, is with home visiting. I had a mom who started at the last week of May. It's her introduction to the program. And then she had a home visit the following week, but she had the baby early. And so there was an expectation of visits that needed to be met. And what I'm finding is also I have moms that are coming into the program and they are having their babies a little earlier, and even if not earlier, there's still that expectation of those visits, and they're not allowing you to come into the home. So what I found is at the end of the quarter, we had like 2 new moms, and that they were scared to put the information in. They was like, oh my God, if we put the information in the system, will it automatically calculate? Am I going to be expected to do these visits that I definitely cannot do before this quarter ends? So I know I'm asking a question. I think I'm asking a question, and I guess I'm looking for some feedback. And if I didn't ask it correctly, let me try to rephrase it so I could absolutely get the help that I'm looking for and how to do this.
So what I'm hearing is that your staff is saying that they don't want to enter the TCID form because they're worried that they're going to be accountable for those visits. Is that what you're saying?
Part of what I'm saying, and also I'm saying that when that mom had the baby early, those visits were still required, even though we're putting the notes in, and there's nothing else that I can do to help in that instance because it still looks like these are some missed visits. So I guess that's some of the things I'm asking.
Okay, so I just
What I'm
want to,
asking,
so
and what you asked me is correct. On the
has
last
the,
week, we had to put in. Mhm.
okay, so has the family been enrolled before the mom, has the family been enrolled before the mom has the baby?
She was enrolled the last week. Excuse me, I'm sorry I didn't mention that, but yes, she was enrolled that last week of May. She
Okay, so
wanted
she
the
was
program.
So I'm sorry to interrupt you. I just want to get this straight. So this particular case that you're talking about, the family was enrolled in the last week of May. Did she have the baby prior to the enrollment date or after the
Did
enrollment
not
date?
after the enrollment date.
Okay. Because, and I don't know, Jade, help me out here, but Fatima,
Sure.
it doesn't
Actually, my name
really
is
matter
Fatima.
when they enter that TCID form. The date of birth is the date of birth. So the visits are going to start on that date of birth. Oh,
No.
That
So
no.
the requirements for visits start at the enrollment date.
right.
And I mean,
It doesn't say
because
no.
we
Right.
so avoiding entering the TCID is not going to avoid the requirements for home visits if the family enrolled prenatally. And of course, we encourage high prenatal enrollment rates because that really makes our program more effective. So I think, from what I'm hearing, Fatima, is that
I'm sorry. My name is Fatima. I keep saying, and I don't mean to be rude, but I
oh,
just
I'm
like to
sorry.
be Fatima, not Fatima.
I'm sorry. Well,
No, not at
we
all. I
we
just
had a
wanted
long
to tell me
time.
that correction.
That's fine. Okay. Sorry, Fatima. But I think that it may be that we just want to look at the specific circumstance, and so you could uh, submit a ticket, and we do a much deeper dive into your situation. But in a general way, the advice that we have is that you want, obviously sometimes moms are um, anxious or unwilling to have the home visits for whatever reason. But I mean, that's part of the difficulty of the job is talking mom into accepting your services. But I think I didn't get enough from your description to know the exact circumstances, and I think maybe it's probably better if we follow up with a ticket because then we can look at your situation specifically and give it the time that requires without taking everyone else's time, essentially.
Oh no, I definitely don't want to take everyone else's time, but I thought if maybe it came up for somebody else, they may have a solution as well. But I definitely will do the ticket. But I want to also mention that sometimes after women have enrolled and they've had they have their children, it's sometimes cultural. I don't want you in my house because I know even when I had babies, you couldn't come in my house for the first 6 weeks. And I respect that. But I definitely will do the ticket so I can get some understanding because
We
it is
do.
a situation and I appreciate the feedback.
We do. I just one more, like maybe help. We do have different levels for cases like that, where like the level TR or the level, there where it's like temporarily restricted for business for visits. So you can, if you have a family that is refusing visits at that time, put the case on TR, and then
TR told it couldn't be on for that long. So is there a length for the TR? And I apologize for cutting you off.
no,
So our program is new. For me, is new. But yes.
So that's more of a policy type of thing, and you might want to contact your contract manager about that.
Okay.
We only can address like technical issues in these meetings, but definitely send the ticket in. We'll give you MIS advice, but also you might want to contact your contract manager to see what their advice is as far as the best practice standards and policy is concerned.
Thank you.
Mariella, you've had your
There's
hand
a
up.
couple questions.
Oh, sorry.
Oh, I'm sorry. There are a couple questions in the chat that we could dispose of quickly.
Okay.
So the
Karina,
first question was from.
oh, go ahead, Jay.
Sorry, go ahead.
We no
She just
longer
asked if
update
the.
paper forms. We no longer update the
Yep,
paper.
we no longer update them. The way to print a paper form now is to choose the blank form button when you're in the form, and that way it will be always up to date. It'll include all of the questions, and it's not designed to be filled out, but it is designed to be a guide. So that's where all of the original paper forms have all been retired. And then the second question was from Josephina, and she said, when an FSS is on vacation, is it possible to pause home visits? As Corey just mentioned, if necessary, you can put the family on a different level where they don't require home visits. However, there are requirements for putting the family on that level. Generally, what we recommend and
You're frozen, Jay.
what is expected is that someone. So I don't know where I got frozen.
Yeah, I'll just take it. So generally, I think the policy is that another home visitor takes over the visitor's the caseload. So it's kind of a if I'm on vacation, maybe Jay would be asked to take on some of the home visits, or other members of your team would see the families, and that's really I think that's how the policy is. But again, we can't address, the MIS does not have a pause option for the home visits. That's pretty much what it is. As Jay said, a pause would be a different level, but there are requirements for those level changes. So if your program is having some staff issues where they can't do all the home visits, then again, contact your contract manager to help you out with that. Sorry. And Mariella, finally, sorry, you're so patient. You're on mute.
Good morning, everyone. So I have a question. I was wondering if there is any possibility that you guys can add folders inside of the case documents. And this is just since we are kind of moving to having all families chart in MIS, so it can be a little bit more organized. Recently we have found out that you change families to different levels, and when you are adding those level change form, they are saved on different names, and so it's a little bit difficult to have a history of the family's level changes in a specific.
Mariella, that's what the categories are designed for. The categories are designed to organize documents by their type. And what you can do is you can sort by the type, so you can see all the level change documents together. And you also have filters there too, I believe, so that you can only look at the level change documents if that's what you're interested in. But we did consider adding folders a long time ago to this, but the categories are a substitute for that.
Right. The category.
And when you say categories, what did you mean by that?
You can sort by date too. So I'm just going to take a look at a case.
Oh. Mariella, you're talking about case documents, right?
Case documents, correct. Yeah.
Yeah, case documents don't have the categories.
But it is sortable by date, though, I think.
Yeah, it is sortable by date, but it's not sortable. Well, I was confusing it with the case notes.
Right. So you can sort them by document date and added by date, also, and a description. So perhaps when you're uploading the documents, when you're adding the documents, the description, you can make the descriptions a little bit more specific and focused. So then you could sort it that way. We have meetings every Monday morning, and we can certainly bring the ideas of folders to that meeting, and we can discuss the possibility of that. But I do believe that, as Jay said, we entertained the thought of putting folders in there, but we really felt that it was easier to sort it by date and by description, because that would require the home visitor to make sure that they're putting the document in the right folder. And if they put it in the wrong folder, then it would be even more complicated to find these documents. Does that make sense?
Yeah, I understand, but my concern is a little bit more like when we are having supervision, sometimes it takes like a lot of our time to kind of see the history of the family and the level changes, because the documents are saved in different orders. So like having those files, if it's possible, folders would be very beneficial, because you can have like all the level changes, all the ASQs in one place. So it wouldn't be like everything together. And like, yeah, that's what I meant. And sometimes even the dates are different, because a family can go to a level change, let's say 7/23, but then I don't get to upload the form into tomorrow when it's the time that I have to document. So the date won't even match. So it will be a little bit difficult to locate the document if we are looking by the date.
But there is like a document date and then an added date there in the case documents. Also, again, the description. So maybe the description can be more specific and more focused on exactly what's being uploaded. I just want to say again, like, the folders is a great idea as long as all of the information is being put in the right folders. But if you're looking in a folder and the document has been put into a different folder, it's still going to take the supervisors a lot of time to find that. I just think that we've explored this, and the idea of like hitting those arrows, as long as, it does take, maybe additional documentation to make sure that that description is exactly what is in that document, But again, I don't want to dismiss this. We will bring it to the attention of our team Monday morning when we have our meeting.
Thank you.
I'd like to add, as a supervisor, I do actually enjoy that idea of having the folders. I also agree with the labeling. Sometimes, across the board, and sometimes, the names do get changed or saved under different ways. But as a supervisor, we're going to check where the upload is. We would be checking the uploads on a more immediate basis. So that would lessen that document would save someplace else, because I'm also envisioning when you have the yearly or either event-driven like consent form that might be entered, those might accumulate, and having a folder to go straight into is going to save that. Developmental assessment, social emotional, all these things can be divided, and it could be such a quicker way to reach those resources when we're going to be written supervision. So if that's just to add some information, you guys bring it to the
may I add just suggestions for you guys? So I totally get it. The folders is a good idea. But I do also worry what Corey's saying, that not all staff are going to remember which folder to put it in. But what we're doing right now is we have established, like, we've established all the same labels for things. So if it's an ASQ or if it's an ASQSE, they label it the exact same way. The only change is the date that it was done. So same with level changes. So like level change certificate, date, 7/23. So all staff are labeling the same documents the same way. Does that make sense? And so when I go, because I'm a supervisor as well, we have to do chart reviews. So we're looking through these case documents all the time. What I do is I use the search bar. So I know that my home visitors are labeling all of their certificates the same way. So I'll just type into the search bar level change certificate or even level, and they all blow in. So in the meantime, even if they don't decide to do the folders, perhaps that'll help you guys, because it is annoying to like go page by page by page, pull up everything. But if all of your home visitors label the same forms the same way, you could easily search it and all of them will blow in if you type it in. Hope that makes sense.
That's great. That's awesome, Allie. And I totally agree. Like consistency on like anything you're entering is going to make a difference. Again, we're going to bring the folder idea to the team, but if it doesn't work, I think what I'm going to do is, we have that help feature on the different like pages within the MIS. Maybe I'll just add that like, like reminder to be consistent in your descriptions and your documentations, because it will make it easier. Really great idea though. Thank you, Allie. Josephina has another comment here. When the mother does not work or study for a year because she is at home with the children, the system needs to explain why. Instead of adding comments every quarter, it would be beneficial if they added the stay home mom option. That's really a policy thing. We can't make changes to forms without the input and the approval of OCFS. So my suggestion is that you bring this to your contract manager, or maybe bring it up at the next regional meeting.
I just want to add that's so funny because I have that in my notes. I was going to bring that up to you guys. So Josephina, you're not the only one who's wondering that. So yeah, I was going to suggest, because you know how we have that box in the TC Med form where like due to religious reasons or whatever, they're not getting immunizations. I was going to ask you guys if we could do the same thing if they're deciding to stay at home, because that really is a job. Okay.
I agree. I was a stay-home mom for about 7 years, and it is a really hard job. But again, we can't make changes to the MIS without the input or the approval of OCFS. But this is a really good regional meeting discussion, though. Topic. Any other questions? I say it every time, but it really does. The questions that you guys bring and the participation that we get in these meetings, you're helping so many people. So I just appreciate you guys so much.
I have one more, please. Could somebody recommend a report to pull for total number of children in the household, including siblings? I know I can certainly find one for TC, but I would like to know how many children overall we're impacting. Does anybody know if I could run a report for total children in the household?
I don't believe we have a
Just the
report.
kids.
Yeah, I don't believe we have a report for that. We do not track all the children in the family. I guess, again, that requires, accurate documentation for all the cases. I guess we could have a special data request for that, right, Jay? We could get it looked at and approved by OCFS, and if Kristen is the one who does the approval for those types of report for Healthy Families New York. But if she decides that it is a worthwhile report for everybody, then we're just going to, we'll create a report and put it in the MIS. But Melissa, if you want to see that, maybe you could complete the special data request report or form, and we'll send it to Kristen.
It's only something I have to do quarterly, and it's not that much of a hassle to open up each case and look at the siblings column and count, I suppose.
For right
If
now.
everybody else doesn't need it, I'll just do it for me. I don't do it that frequently, but I thought maybe I was missing something in our report catalog.
So you need to report per family? Per family? Or in total?
No, not per family. So, total number of children impacted in the North County was the question today.
Oh, that's an aggregate counts report.
For children, Jay?
For all children?
Yeah, for other children. Yeah, it has the number of TCs that were served and then the number of other children that are associated with the family.
Wow, that is great. And you called it the aggregate?
The aggregate counts report.
Okay.
Yep.
Well, that's really helpful. That'll save me some time. Thank you.
Great.
Thanks, Jay.
You're welcome. And again, that depends on the documentation, but that's, as long as you have to report on it, you have to make sure your documentation is correct.
Anything else from anybody? We have about 5 minutes left. Well, I guess I will just say thanks to everybody once again for being here. Our next Healthy Families discussion is scheduled for August 13th, but I will be sending invites out when the date gets closer. Remember, you can share this invitation with anybody in your program. And if you can attend, then maybe send another person who has the time. Also, I just want to let you know, I saw on my calendar today that it's National Chocolate and Peanut Butter Day. So be good to yourself and have a Reese's Peanut Butter Cup. And with saying that, I'm just going to say bye.